today's world of sharing information and working together, we have lost sight of what is required for collaboration to happen. The system we operate in just isn't set up for it. It doesn't support collaboration, and also, we don't prioritise it. Therefore, missing out on the impact that collaboration can have not only on your teams, but on your individual potential. In my mind, collaborating helps us do two things. First, create better ideas more effectively. Second, solve complex problems. We heard about wicked problems. I'm going to talk a lot about complex problems. Solve them more efficiently. We must focus on making collaboration a priority, challenge the way we're working, and create the conditions, I'm going to say that word a lot, create the conditions to collaborate within. My journey started a while ago. I was on a project focused on figuring out housing solutions for a large government agency. Can't really talk about the name. The complex problem, it affected a lot of New Zealanders, their families, how they lived their lives. How we solved it? Firstly, co-design. Got some post-its? No. We worked with the people who knew the most about the problem, who had skin in the game, and were directly affected by the solution. This was my epiphany moment. Literally, epiphany happened in my brain. That working in this way not only enabled us to create a really, really successful solution, but it enabled us to build trust with them, the people that were affected by it, by making a huge change in their lives. How? We had the right conditions. Is that word again? We had the right conditions in which to do it. Complex problems are best solved collaboratively, in conditions purposely built for success. They require a variety of perspectives, skills, opinions, ideas, and a strong community to own them. So who am I? It took a while to kind of get to that point. I'm Ruth. I do like to hit people in the face. Kidding. I'm a collaborator, I'm an activator, and I'm a believer that we can make that change necessary to unlock our full potential. I was trying to think of my strengths. This is the key because we're unlocking potential together. And I guess one of my main strengths is I'm a problem solver. I'm restorative. It's a nice word for saying. I like that knot. The knot that when you get stuck in and start untangling and pulling out the strings, you start to really find what's causing that complex problem. And it gives you a way to start to think about solving it. I try and work by this one saying: if you can't have fun with a problem, you'll never solve it. You need that community I mentioned before. You need them with you. You need their help to solve it. They also keep you human and fun. This is what makes me passionate, so passionate about working in this way, about always endorsing collaboration from the start. Who's that? That's my pal. This is Aaron. Do you want to give us a wave? Hi, Aaron. Aaron's also from the Sandbox. Aaron's also from where I work, the Sandbox. So today, he's going to be visually capturing my story. As in our world, this is communication. Live scribing in this visual way helps inspire new thoughts and ideas and actually enables collaboration through communicating. So instead of slides, I wanted to share this with you as an experiment. I feel like it's going okay, so we're good. Top tip though, you need to communicate to collaborate. So grab a whiteboard pen. You don't have to be as artistically talented as this guy. You just have to be able to communicate, to visually represent what you're saying. Not only does it show that you've listened and you've heard the conversation, but it starts a story that you can both then add and edit. Whiteboard's pretty easy to clean. So, I've learned that creating these suitable conditions that allow everyone to work effectively is essential. Quick fixes, cover-ups, they don't work. And once they happen, it's really, really hard to commit to that problem I was talking about, and it's not fun. I know that a sprinkle of collaboration causes more harm than committing to doing it properly from the beginning. So, how do I know this? I work in a place called the Sandbox, and the Sandboxes show me how to create a space to collaborate. It's a place where you have to understand how to design processes with the right tools, with the right environment, and the right people. So today, I want to share with you what I've learned about working in this way, and what you can do to create the conditions to successfully collaborate. Before I move on, I want to backtrack slightly. So I talked about that epiphany I had. It was a few years ago. So what do I do now? How do I know this stuff? Well, sort of. I lead a place called Sandbox, PwC Sandbox, just down the road on the terrace. And it's a place which challenges the way you think about collaborating. Not only do we collaborate once we're in there, but we go through processes that happen before we even think about using the space. And this way has really shown me what you need to be successful. So first, disclaimer. Another pre-drawn reminder of a point that is important. Collaboration isn't a cure. Reality is that some situations just don't require it. So for the next 23 minutes and 14 seconds, I'm going to be talking about those situations that have been identified as needing to collaborate with someone else to actually achieve the goal. You good, Aaron? Perfect. So, let's set the scene. Status quo, in my mind. A client, someone, a team member, whoever, comes to you with a problem. You accept it, and you take that problem away. Phase 1, there is a fence, they have thrown you something, you have caught it. You've gone into isolation to get working on solving that problem, whatever it is. But you're in isolation, you're by yourself. You've got no oversight of what the other client is doing or thinking. Both of you are isolated. You finish whatever solution, magic you've come up with, and you're ready. You're ready for that grand reveal back to the client. You organise it, you meet them, and just before you move that bus, they interrupt you. Looks like they've been doing the same thing. They've created something in addition to the first problem, a new problem. This is what I call phase 2. It's exactly the same as phase 1. They've thrown another thing over the fence, you've caught it, and you then get to work. You're now in a horrific cycle, which can be broken if you worked on the problem together. You've both unintentionally sidestepped collaboration and cooperated, and eventually, you got the job done. Why? You wanted to collaborate, you wanted to work together. What happened? The conditions to collaborate in with them did not exist. So collaboration, I've probably said it like 20 times, maybe 21. What do I mean? I boil it down to this. It's a process where people or an organisation actively, keyword, work together to successfully achieve a common goal. The process is important, actively working together is important, and the common goal is important. So if we unpack that, what is it? It's active. It's working together. Each of you have active involvement. You all participate and come to a shared ownership of the outcome. You're working collectively, making decisions, and you've taken that responsibility to contribute your value. It's a shared experience. So that's what I think it is. What it isn't? Cooperation. That's to work with someone. It's passive. You are complying with someone without proactive involvement. Think of it like an enabling sense. You are enabling them to do something that they couldn't do without you. But then you can walk away and they can keep doing it. Cooperation's fine. It probably makes the world go round. We're all nice to each other. We all get along. But it's different to collaboration. Very different. So, take 2 seconds before I jump into these conditions and think about that scale. Think about the last piece of work you did, and if you've got collaboration on one side and cooperation on the other, were you heavier on the cooperation side, or were you heavier on the collaboration side? And if you're heavier on this side, cooperating, why? So to change that status quo of the problem throwing over the fence, and to balance out that scale, so collaboration is heavier, we must create the right conditions. So, for the sake of ease, boil them down to 4 things. First, you must create purpose. Second comes power. Empower people. Speaking of people, very important when you're collaborating. And lastly, process. Oh, sorry. Having these allow everyone to work effectively. So let's jump into them and understand what they are and how they enable collaboration. Seamless. So first is purpose. A shared purpose means that everyone in the room can answer this. Why are we doing this? Everyone is clear on the answer. They understand that why. We heard about it just before. So important. If you understand why you're doing it, keeps you motivated, keeps you driven. Collectively, you have the right intent. You know what needs to be achieved, and you're all accountable for success. Now, that last bit's quite important. It doesn't lie with one person. Having purpose, having this condition set up, creates space for collaboration because, firstly, all of the roles in the community I talked about before are understood and respected. Those roles are there because they are required to do the work. And if they're respected, it's understood. It makes sense. You know why the tester's there. You know why the developer's there. You all have your certain roles to play. You've come together and you've created a shared vision. And if you've got a shared purpose, you can make clear expectations that align with that. Okay, so example of my world, sandboxing, way of working, collaboration, is probably one of the best events I've run. So this was a large-scale event where we got the right people in the room to talk about the right things. We worked with the client a lot to frame up exactly what they were trying to achieve. Turns out they'd got a brand new building, and they'd got, they had a lot of people wanting to use it. So they needed a way that was unique to them that they could work. Our job? Help them create that way that was fit for what they were trying to do. So we ran what we call a boot camp to build capability. And the event, it was perfect. It was very enjoyable. It was down south, loved it. But the purpose part, the example, came afterwards. So I stayed in touch with a few of the people in the event. And I got this email. And from the last exercise we ran together, they'd gone off and taken some of the values we talked about that they wanted to bring to work every day and created a set of working principles. Literally a shared language. Not only was it lush to look at, they'd spent some time really putting it together, but they lived by it. They really felt those clear, succinct statements were something that they needed in their way of working. Winning. 2, the second condition, empowerment. Those with ownership have power. Enable people to have that ownership and have autonomy. And honestly, I promise you, things get done. Collective ownership enables decision making. The owners start to transform into the authors. Having power, having ownership, being empowered to do the work, make the decisions, create space to collaborate because people help support something they create. They get satisfaction from their work. It's meaningful. It adds value. I want to keep doing it. It provides a sense of motivation and commitment. I read the other night the Ikea Effect. You go to Ikea, you buy something in a box, it's flat packed, takes you 2 days to install it, you have a scrap with your partner, then you finally build it and you admire it, and you're motivated to use it because it's taken you 2 days to build it. Same thing, right? This can only happen when egos are left at the door. So just because you have ownership doesn't mean you can be stroppy. It's going to swear, but save that. So an example of this, working in sync with the client, to the point where you don't know who's from another team, who's from another building, who's a consultant, who's not. Everyone owns the challenge, therefore everyone has ownership of creating the solution. Recently, I was lucky enough to work on a project, it was a roadshow across New Zealand, about educating real Kiwis on a strategy. Communication between us and the team we're working with was easy. There's no surprise moments. We worked on site, we've heard a lot about co-location, very important, but not always vital. You can do things virtually. Questions were answered quickly, we shared the work, we shared the credit, and we shared the blame. So think of it like this. Author effect, right? Forget Ikea. You've got people who have ownership. They want to create, they want to do, they want to build. Author effect. Okay, number 3. People might just be my favorite one. You must choose, or at least try, and choose the right people to own the challenge. You need people who decide, people who implement, people who know. This is your guiding coalition. They are committed to the development of the work, to the project, to whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating together. Have confidence in why they're there, and have confidence in why you chose them or asked them or got them involved. The right people that decide, that know, that implement, all those big words, create space for collaboration, as each of them can bring a different view, a different perspective. But importantly, they can not only just hold their own and they can articulate it well, they can listen to others. They can share. They can start to have that communication. They have a stake in the outcome. So linking back to what I talked about, that epiphany moment, those people who were really affected by the solution. If you've got the right people in the room and they're affected or have a stake in the outcome, they give a shit. They want it to work. They want it to be a success. Important. You don't have to be the expert. It's not an expert club. That's why you've got the right people in the room, so you've all got different skills and perspectives. You must know why they're there, though. You need to be confident and trust that you've got the right people. And also, create some space for personality. You might have someone who is expressive. You might have someone who likes to reflect and think. You don't have to conform to one way. Just start to understand how the people in your group, in your co-design workshop, in your meeting interact with each other, and create space for them. An example of this, there's actually a lot in my world. I rely really heavily on working with my team. The roles that people hold in that team is really important. There's a lot going on. If you've got 150 people in a large-scale event and you've planned it and you've framed it up and you know exactly what's going on, there are multiple roles that need to be covered, need to be owned and taken care of. That requires you to trust each other. Trust that things are just going to get done. Trust that you don't have to worry about the very, very long to-do list going on. Someone else is going to help you with that. So, as well as creating space, work with the attributes of those people and start to create behaviors in your team. So an example of this, which I love and now feels so natural and so familiar to me, is a simple click. Oh, we're not in sync. Didn't plan that one. So the click, right? You don't have to be in a large-scale event. You can be just having a conversation, a really quick stand-up, for example. The click symbolizes that there is no master. There is no I say when you're done. You're all demonstrating that you're in a certain flow. You're in sync with each other. You go around the circle or square or diamond. Once we've done a plank, that worked quite well. you go around and you quickly just express what you need to say. You might need support. You might need a pep talk. Whatever it is, that click demonstrates right at the end, so you're all looking at each other, and without saying anything, you click. And reflecting on that behaviour actually started to pull our team together. A team can change, roles can flex and move, and that was something that was so stable, and we do it all the time without even thinking about it. It's actually weird if we don't do it. All right, lastly, important. Number 4 is process. Trust the process and commit to the journey. The journey will allow you to test possibilities, explore, challenge each other and the ideas, and actually commit to the outcome. Spoiler alert, this one is ignited by the success of the other 3. Process creates space for collaboration because as soon as you accept the journey you're going on, you can understand that there are certain stages at different stages, and you understand that the process has different stages, different tools, different people, different knowledge, different information to facilitate whatever solution you're trying to get to. Sometimes this can be really hard. You can go off track. Someone can be like, what are we doing? I don't know, I forgot why we're doing this. And you've got to have commitment to just pull them back on, or it could happen to you, be supported to get back on that journey. Sticking to it and committing actually shows that you have more leverage together. And you start to understand it, you start to want to do it, and even encourage others to do it. Top tip, attendance is vital. It sounds so basic, but very true. You must show up, you must add value, you must contribute your ideas, and it really does fuel the fire to keep that process on track. So a good example of this is the sandbox. So in my world, I run it 2 processes. One is, first, a process to understand what the problem is, that not how we untangle it, how we frame up a solution, and then how we iterate on it together. So that involves different tools, different conversations, different people. The second process is making sure we have the right environment, the right activity, the right content to actually pull that day, 2 days, 3 days event together to make sure we hit that goal. So I've covered those 4 conditions that will create space for collaboration. Shared purpose, ownership, the right people, and trusting the journey. The secret? Do by design, not by default. It is not going to happen, these are not going to be created if you do nothing. By design, not default. Collaboration isn't supported without these. And the sooner you remove barriers blocking you from creating them, the quicker you can actually allow everyone to be more effective. Trust me, I've seen it. So think about these 4 conditions like a circle. Each is a quarter segment. Give enough thought, enough consideration to align them into that circle. If you put too much on purpose and not enough down on people, you'll kind of end up with a morphed like peanut shape. You want a balanced circle with enough pressure pushing them together. And what happens under pressure? Girl's best friend? Diamonds. So think about it like a collaborative diamond. Inside that circle, that's what you're creating. Creating diamonds needs support, in my mind. So consider this. In the future, there will be an internal department, an internal collaboration department. Hopefully they'll have a better name. But I think this will happen soon. There'll be a team, just like the innovation team you might have or department you might have, who are responsible for nurturing ideas, developing genius, just like you have a tech department for allowing this to happen and to send emails. You will have a collaboration department that will ensure all teams in the organisation, no matter what they're doing, are set up with the right conditions necessary to collaborate. until it is intrinsic in the way people work. That capability to collaborate with multiple others is set. So, time to tell you the answer, right? And if you've seen the pun over here, you might kind of understand this. It's not 42. It's not the meaning of life. In place of a big answer, I offer you a big question. What could you do differently tomorrow to prioritize collaboration? Can you champion that and start making collaboration a requirement, not a nice to have? That's all from me. Just before I go, a huge thank you to all of you for sharing my first speaking at a real live conference with me. A huge thank you to Aaron and the team for making this experiment work. And I'll probably see you in the speakers lounge. So long. Thanks for all the fish. Should we click out?